are looking for their 1099s, their W-2s, and anything else that they're going to have to turn over the next few months. And Kyle Waters is a certified financial planner, and one of those things you don't want to hear is you're getting audited. Kyle, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Tim. Good morning, Karen. I'm great.
All right, taxes is a bad enough word, but audit, that's one that just makes you sink to your knees. What are we supposed to do this tax season to avoid an audit?
Yeah, the biggest thing is I always like to start talking with clients about how likely is this to even happen, right? It's pretty low. So for most taxpayers, if your income is under $200,000, your odds of being audited are, in that 1% range. Between 200 and a million, it jumps up, and over a million, it jumps up again. So it's important for people to say how likely is this to really happen. But knowing that, how much tax you pay and how much income you make is what the IRS looks like what they look at when they determine, are you taking larger charitable deductions or larger itemized deductions than other people making the same amount of money as you? If so, they may start having questions.
Tax audits became almost kind of a campaign issue at one point, as President Donald Trump had mentioned that for, I guess, the last 12 years has been audited, which I'm sure is not a very pleasant process, no matter how much money you make. But for Joe Schmoes like me, how scary can this be, and what can we do to mitigate some of these issues?
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of people think, when they hear audit, they think it's going to be unannounced, agents rappelling down your roof and your door in, right, demanding your documents, which is, still kind of the way I think about it a little bit. But what actually happens is much less dramatic. Typically, you're going to see a letter in the mail saying, hey, Tim, we need these documents, please send. And then you send them in, and then it goes away. Sometimes they're going to be in your office. It's much less likely. So it's not as dramatic as people think, especially when you've got all your records and you're organized. It ends up being a pretty quick process.
You feel like you're doing everything you're supposed to do. You're gathering all your stuff. If you're still able to do it yourself, you do it yourself, or if not, you hand it to your accountant. Short of this maybe larger charitable donations, are there other things that might be a red flag that would catch the attention of the IRS?
Yeah, so the IRS is going to look at things like, the home office deduction. So something like the home office deduction there's multiple ways to calculate it. There's a more simple way, which can be a lower deduction. There's a more complex way, which could potentially be a higher deduction. But, again, it gets more complex. You have to keep better records. So charitable deductions is a big one. Itemized deductions, home office. A lot of people, when they start writing off their automobile, the IRS does not like it when you say your automobile was 100% used for business. That's a tough one. So just make sure that whatever you're doing is not necessarily wrong. Just make sure that you've got the accurate records.
All right, and this morning on Memphis Morning News, we are joined by Kyle Waters. He's a certified financial planner. He's the managing director at Atlas Wealth Advisors. Now, as we're sitting and waiting for our W-2s, and for some 1099s, you have a lot of folks out here that are probably, getting up early, busting it, and that are independent contractors. Is it a good idea for some of these independent contractors? Does it make you more or less likely to get audited if you pay quarterly taxes or if you don't?
Yeah, you want to make sure that if you have taxes that are going to be due, that you're paying those quarterly. So there's a lot of ins and outs around, well, if you pay at least this amount, you're not going to have penalties or whatever they might be. But if you know roughly what you're going to owe throughout the course of the year, you want to be paying those quarterly taxes. Now, you had mentioned 1099. What a lot of people don't realize is that by incorporating, whether it's an S-Corp or some of these other options, it could potentially lower your chance of an audit. A lot of people think that it raises it, and that's not necessarily the case. So you really want to look and say, hey, what's the best structure for me if I am an independent contractor? How can I save money along the way, lower my chance of audit, and increase the chance to take advantage of some of these tax deductions?
Quick question. We got about 30 seconds left. Used to be, they said, people forgetting to sign their tax return was the biggest mistake people made. Now a lot of people are filing electronically. Is there still one big mistake people make on their tax returns?
I think a big mistake people make is not being organized. So the IRS, they're going to get copies of all those documents that you get, 1099, W-2, all those pieces. if you get something, no matter what it is, make sure that you're reporting it because they're getting it too. And if those don't match up, you could get a call.
All right. Thank you. Kyle Waters, certified financial planner. Thanks for joining us on Memphis Morning News. Been great to talk with you. Hopefully we get to do it again sometime.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you so much.
All right. We'll
that
have to
just makes
circle
me
him.
cringe. Not Kyle specifically, but just the thought of taxes. You know, you wait for that form to come in the mail, and like I say, you just start accumulating all your things. If you have more than one income, you start to put it together, and then you just cringe when it's cringeworthy to see what you made and what you actually took home.
Yeah, I pay quarterly just so I know there might be a sting, but it won't be as bad of a sting as it could be. But you still brace yourself.
Right.
I got to give you an amen on that one. 6:52 from the Wolf Chase Toyota Traffic Center. Here's Wendy.
Good morning. A traffic